Hi, my name is Ron Abruzzese, place 4 city council member. I've been on council for 4.5 years, and before that I served on P&Z for 4 years. While on council, I've been appointed to the BCRUA board, where I've served as president and vice president, the position I currently hold on that board. I've also served on the comprehensive plan update committee in 2015, and also the bond election committee in 2016. I've also served on the Old Town Street Festival for 3 years since its inception. I'm also a member of CAPCOG, which is Capital Area Council of Governments. I was elected by my colleagues to serve as a year as Mayor Pro Tem. Before coming to council, I served also on the 2009 Comprehensive Plan Update Committee. So I have a lot of experience with the comp plan, which is, of course, a plan developed with residents to direct the future growth of our city. I'm also a graduate of the beginner and the advanced Citizen Police Academy courses, happily married with 2 children, both who graduated from Leander Rouse High School. Now on to the questions. I didn't really know how to respond to some of these questions because they came across to me as negatively slanted and seeming to imply that there's something nefarious and rotten going on with how the city council does its business. So, I mean, there's terms like giving up new urbanism, a destination Leander development plan, lack of transparency, and a design book. These are the terms I've never heard of or things I didn't associate with Leander and the time I was serving on, and the time I've spent serving on council. So let's delve into some of the questions. The economic development. What is your position on giving up Leander's economic development money to Cap Metro? That's an interesting question because we didn't give up development money to Cap Metro. There was an election, a voter referendum, that a majority of citizens voted on to join Cap Metro. And we'd have to have another election in order to opt out of Cap Metro. At this point, I don't think it would be a wise choice to do so because it could cost the city monetarily through potential reimbursement we'd have to give back to Cap Metro based on what they assess they've invested in the city through their Cap Metro train tracks and the city and the station. And I also believe it would affect negatively on the economic development in the city because if ACC was planning on ever expanding once the train station wasn't there, I'm pretty sure they would not invest in expanding the campus. Right now they have one building, but I think they envision having a site that could have 4,000 people on it. And the other thing is it would lose one of the amenities that we have that makes us unique to Central Texas. We're the only city outside of Austin that has a metro rail station. And then we'd have to think about, well, okay, what do we want to do with that 1%? So we'd have to have potentially another election to decide what we'd like to do with this. We could use it for property tax reduction, transportation, crime control, parks, or education. But there's one thing we couldn't use it for, and that's to incentivize retailers to come to the city. Are there issues with Cap Metro? Of course. Right now, we are being underserved by Cap Metro. We have seen an additional development. We haven't seen any additional development around the station since it was first built. But things are getting better. But are things getting better? Yes, they are. Cap Metro is making track improvements and adding more train cars to the system to improve the frequency and expand the range of service to Leander. They've also purchased additional property in Leander to build a maintenance facility for the Metro Rail cars. This will bring in at least 100 jobs to Leander. In addition, they will soon start bus service within the city, so we'll have our own internal bus loop. They've also attempted a number of times to try to find a private partner to develop the area around the train station, which is how they would try to develop the property. And they haven't had any success yet, but I'm hoping that with the opening of the ACC campus and all these changes to the Cap Metro, which would increase the frequency and availability of the trains, that this might be the final impetus to get that ball rolling and help them land that partner. As for economic development in general, over the last 12 months, there have been over 70 businesses that have opened or are in the process of doing so within the city. That's 70 businesses. I think that proves that we are doing something right. Businesses are coming here and they want to be here. The fact that they will have a positive economic and quality and affect the quality of life within the city cannot be debated. Can we do more to attract small business? Of course we can. I'm open to exploring any ways to streamline the process to reduce the burden on them to open their business. I also believe we need to leverage amenities like mass transit, ACC, St. David's, and the Texas Bullion Depository to attract other employers. I think we will be more successful doing that again once the campus opens, and again with the improvements to the Metro rail line. One other aspect of the economic development I'd like to touch on is the comprehensive plan. This plan is updated every 5 years by state law, dictated by state law. Every city has to have one. And this process of updating it involves impaneling a committee of citizens to discuss the plan and look for ways to possibly improve it, or just to talk about what's included in it. This plan lays out where we as a city would like to see commercial and retail growth go, so that when developers come and look to invest here, they know where we would like to see that commercial and retail development go. So I think it makes it easier for them to target their projects, knowing that we will be more likely to support it if they put it in an area where we think it should go. The next question about infrastructure. The first thing I'd like to say is, in a number of these questions, they talk about a Destination Leander development plan. The Destination Leander was a slogan that a consultant came up with to help us market the city. And there is no part of it is a development plan. It is just a marketing strategy. The development plan of the city is the comp plan. There is no other plan. And has that marketing of Destination Leander been fruitful, or do I think it's working? I'm on the fence with that. I came on board council when they were in the middle of doing that, so I wasn't really sure of what they were trying to accomplish. But to be honest with you, I don't know that it's really done anything. But I can preface this by saying I believe that one of the best ideas I've seen for marketing for the city has come through the Chamber of Commerce, through President Bridget Brandt. They want to place locomotives that are going to be painted, original designs by all the business around town. You'll see if you look, there's one in front of the Chamber of Commerce house. So right now it's just a white engine, but the plan is to have everybody, if you want one, put one in front of your development or your business. You can feel free to develop or paint it however you want. The next thing is I'd like to talk about the water. That's also in the infrastructure questions. There was a time back in 2003 when residents would come home from work, turn on the tap, and nothing would happen. No water would come out. So there was definitely, back then, there was a water crisis. The city had a major water crisis. The city council decided at that time that the best course of action was to join a 3-city partnership with Round Rock and Cedar Park to build a large raw water treatment plant to secure current and future water supply for the city. They also decided later on to buy the Sandy Creek treatment plant, which again increased our capacity and supply of water. The differing needs of these 3 cities led to the final ownership agreement, which had Leander owning 47% of the plant, which is a high, but again, we are I think under the development agreement, we are expected to grow out to 250,000. I think Round Rock is expected to grow to 250 when it builds out, and Cedar Park is only 100,000. So if you think about that, we should have a little bit more. Round Rock has 2 sources of water, so that they didn't need as much as we did. So I'm committed to make sure that the water rates are stable and stay stable, and possibly even drop. So through my position on the BCRE board, I will oversee the hiring of a neutral general manager for the plant. I will not commit to proceeding with the construction of an $8 million deepwater intake tunnel until we have reached the metrics set by staff, which were designed to protect the current Leander water customers right now from any rate increases. And we've also we have contracts with Liberty Hill and Jonestown to sell them water, so we are exploring other ways to try to offset some of the costs. So next, I'd like to talk about transparency, and this one is really negative sentiment because it sounds to me like this group believes that it actually exists. I personally don't believe it exists, but what I do think exists is a general distrust between the city staff and landowners and developers. One is trying to protect the city of Leander from making a mistake that will have a lasting effect on the community, and the other is trying to get the best deal they can get for the money and get it out and move on to the next project as fast as possible. I don't think one side is more responsible than the other. They just have two different objectives. The question is, how do we get an understanding that makes it possible for both sides to live with an outcome in a timely fashion? And I think all of us on council, not all together, but I think collectively in smaller groups, have been talking about this, trying to figure out a way to come up with some solution. And I think we've all come to a general solution that we need to have a meeting. We need to be everybody to the table: landowners, developers, their staffs, city staff, and city council to sit down and talk about these things. I don't know what how often or how many times we would have to meet or what the topics would be. I think that's still to be determined, but I think it's one way for us to move forward and to get everybody on the same page at the same time. And the other thing that was mentioned is the design book. As far as I know, there is no design book. I've never heard of one. And there are city ordinances that developers are required to build to, and just as the case within every Texas municipality. We don't do anything different than any other city. I was going to talk about LASD, but my time is getting short. All I would say is I don't know why you would ask us about something we have no responsibility or control over when it comes to the debt or the budget of LASD. They do take 55 cents of our tax dollar when we talk property tax, but that's not necessarily their fault. I think the state has a lot to do with the problems around there. So I'll leave it at that. But in conclusion, I'd like to say I believe Leander is a great place to live. We are getting local, state, and national attention as one of the safest places to live and raise a family. We are the fastest growing city with 17 people moving here a day. I don't believe that happens in a vacuum. I believe it's a result of a lot of hard work and dedication put in by city staff, our police, our great police force, and fire department, and hard decisions that have to be made by city council and you, the residents. Together as a community, we've built this city and into what it is today, and I think together we can make it the envy of Central Texas. I'd like to thank the organizers and the VFW for having us out and putting on the event. I hope you will consider voting for me, and just remember, if you need any other information, you can always go to voteforron.com. Thank you for your attention.